Tonight, with just days until an August 1st deadline, Donald Trump announces a trade deal, just not with Canada.
It's the biggest of all the deals.
The European Union reaches an agreement, but doesn't escape Trump's tariffs. Are there any hints of what Canada could face?
We're starting to see a pattern.
Desperately needed food dropped into Gaza as the calls to do more to stop the starvation on the ground intensifies.
Airdrops of food are negligible.
And Olympic champion Summer McIntosh chases a record set by Michael Phelps.
Really, honestly, I'm just trying to take it one race at a time.
1 gold down, 4 more to go.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Hennemanson.
We begin tonight with what Donald Trump is calling his biggest deal yet, a new trade framework with the European Union. This as Canada races to lock in its own agreement by August 1st. The framework includes 15% tariffs on most European goods. That's half of what Trump initially threatened. These terms possibly averting a full-blown transatlantic trade battle. Karen Paul starts us off tonight with the details of the deal and what it could mean as Canada approaches its own deadline.
It's the biggest of all the deals.
In the ballroom of U.S. President Donald Trump's own Scottish golf resort, he and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced a framework for a deal, dodging a transatlantic trade war.
The energy is a very important component because we have more energy than anybody else.
The EU will buy $750 billion worth of U.S. energy, as well as American-made military equipment. There will be no European tariffs on American goods, but the U.S. is imposing 15% tariffs on most European imports, not including steel and aluminum, which will remain at 50%.
Steel is staying the way it is. The steel and aluminum, et cetera, that's a worldwide thing.
Prior to the deal, Trump had been threatening to hit the EU with 30% tariffs starting August 1st.
We wanted to rebalance the trade relation, and we wanted to do it in a way that trade goes on between the two of us across the Atlantic, because the two biggest economies should have a good trade flow between us.
The agreement comes just days before Canada's own August 1st deadline. Trump has threatened to boost tariffs to 35% on some Canadian goods.
We've made progress, but we have a lot of work in front of us.
After meetings in Washington last week, Team Canada suggested a deal may not be imminent.
We're going to continue to do the difficult work and take the time necessary until the Prime Minister decides that the deal that's on the table is the best deal we can get.
In addition to this deal, Trump has inked agreements with Britain, Japan, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Vietnam. And clearly, there's a trend.
Well, we're starting to see a pattern with regard to these deals. We saw Japan earlier in the week, and now the EU, two big trading partners, in which tariffs will be applied.
Fagan says Canada does have an edge over the EU and Japan, thanks to its free trade deal with the U.S., which covers about 70% of Canadian exports.
And Karen, Trump appears eager to lock in more deals as soon as possible with that August 1st deadline fast approaching.
That's right. At today's announcement, he told reporters he's eyeing 3 or 4 more this week, including China. But even if he lands those, he'll still fall short of his own election promise, 90 deals in 90 days.
Karen Pauls in Washington tonight. Tonight, efforts are underway to get food and supplies into Gaza, including the resumption of airdrops. Cheers rang out as this aid from Jordan and United Arab Emirates landed in the territory. Israel released this video of its own drop yesterday. Israel's military says it's also pausing the fighting in certain areas for 10 hours a day to allow in more aid by land. But as Lisa Xing shows us, with more people dying of starvation, there are concerns substantial aid won't come fast enough.
The scramble for flour after months of hunger. It's killing us. My children have lost a lot of weight, says Faraz Hasuna, father of 6 children. From 5 a.m., I am dreaming of flour. It has become a nightmare in my life, he says. A brief moment of relief upon his return to their tent in Gaza City. After mounting international pressure, including from Israel's allies, the Israeli military announcing it would pause its operations for 10 hours a day in 3 areas to allow aid trucks with food and medicine in. Israel is allowing airdrops to resume too, making its own on Saturday of flour, sugar, and canned food. On Sunday, 25 tons from Jordan and the United Arab Emirates, though there's criticism it's not enough. 2 planes carrying aid flew over, he says. I didn't get anything out of them. After the latest ceasefire ended in March, Israel cut off the entry of food, medicine, and fuel and other supplies to Gaza for more than 2 months, saying it aimed to pressure Hamas to release hostages. It slightly eased the blockade in May, though allowing far fewer than the 500 to 600 trucks in, which the UN says is needed daily.
Airdrops of food are negligible. You can't airdrop enough food to deal with this situation.
According to Gaza's health ministry, 133 people have died from malnutrition since the war started, including 6 over the weekend. The majority have died in recent weeks, including babies.
We've got this exponential increase in the number of children who are malnourished, in pregnant women who are malnourished. This cannot continue as it is. We will see hundreds, thousands of children dying if there is not a significant change.
That change is an end to the war, which Canada's Foreign Minister Anita Anand called for in a statement today. She also said allowing more aid into Gaza is a step in the right direction, but that it needs to be large-scale and permanent. Now, some of that aid waiting to enter is being supplied by Canada.
And Lisa, we're also hearing from Israel.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said today that it's committed to allowing a minimal entry of humanitarian supplies, but that it will continue to fight until it achieves its goals, until complete victory. Ian.
Lisa Shing in Toronto. Authorities in Michigan say a man suspected of stabbing nearly a dozen people at a Walmart this weekend is expected to face multiple charges, including terrorism.
1 count of terrorism. 11 counts of assault with intent to murder.
The suspect has been identified as 42-year-old Bradford James Gilly. Police say he stabbed 11 people with a folding knife on Saturday, and the victims appeared to have been targeted randomly. 2 of them are in serious condition. The motive behind the stabbing still not clear. Passengers were forced to evacuate an American Airlines jet after an aborted takeoff in Denver. Officials say there was an incident with the landing gear. 173 passengers were on board. 1 person was taken to hospital with minor injuries. The Transportation Safety Board is investigating after a small plane crashed in western Newfoundland on Saturday. It happened near the airport in the town of Deer Lake. In a statement, the company that owns the plane indicated at least 1 person was killed, but it's not clear how many people may have been on board. No names have been released of anyone involved. Deadly and unrelenting wildfires are engulfing parts of southern Europe. Prolonged extreme heat is fueling the flames, which is why firefighters are struggling to contain them. Dozens of fires are burning in multiple countries, including the Western Balkans. Greece and Turkey are especially hard hit, with some fires burning for weeks now. Yasmin Fernandez shows us the destruction and how climate change is making the situation worse.
Flames engulf the suburb north of Athens as many fast-moving fires rage across Greece. One moment the fire is here, the next it's across, says this man. Everything is very fast. Firefighters and residents are doing what they can to save homes. If we had left our house, it would have burned completely, says this woman. Police in Greece shared video of this evacuation, just one of thousands across southern Europe. The fires are fueled by drought, strong winds, and abnormally high temperatures.
It's very hard to control fires under those conditions. Particularly the winds make it extremely difficult.
Fires have become more destructive in the region in recent years, partly because of climate change. Turkey set a new temperature record on Friday, 50.5 degrees Celsius.
But the fact of the matter is that we've had warmer climates, not only in this area, but all around the world.
Wildfires have engulfed Turkey for weeks, the situation there being compared to an apocalypse. At least 10 forestry and rescue workers have already died fighting the fires, say government officials. Meanwhile, in Kosovo, fires have killed livestock and destroyed buildings. We rushed to save what we could, says this farmer. I had 20 cows and we managed to save 12, but 8 we could not save. In Bulgaria, thousands of acres of forest have burned. It's a merciless moment, a tragedy, says this volunteer firefighter. In all my years of fighting fires, I haven't seen anything like this. The EU has deployed firefighting planes to some countries and says it's prepared to offer more support as needed. Yasmin Ghaneya, CBC News, Vancouver.
Climate change is also worsening coastal erosion in Canada's north. But tonight, a community in the Northwest Territories, long at risk of being washed into the Arctic Ocean, has taken a major step in protecting itself. Juanita Taylor takes us to the Great Wall of Tuk.
Slabs of concrete and massive boulders strategically placed along the shores of Tuktoyaktuk to protect the community from washing into the Beaufort Sea.
We're very confident that this is going to hold and buy us time that we need to either continue to protect the community or relocate in the future.
Powerful storm waves and thawing permafrost are eroding the coastline by about 1 meter each year, forcing some to relocate their homes inland. The project is also aimed at protecting Tuk Island, the community's natural barrier from the Arctic Ocean.
It's super important that we had the barrier put up here so that we can mitigate at least the wave action and the storm surges that was washing the material out.
And so if Tuk Island were to ever get washed away, what would happen?
The harbor would become the ocean. I think catastrophic to the community.
The mayor calls it the Great Wall of Tuk, the first ever shoreline protection in Canada of this magnitude. At a cost of more than $50 million from the federal government, it's expected to last 30 years.
We covered essentially 2,000 meters of shoreline with rock.
The rock was quarried from Inuvik, roughly 150 kilometers away.
Approximately 200,000 tons of rock was brought in. So I think that the repreventment project really saved the community of Tuk.
Its completion was celebrated by the people of Tuk, including the Northwest Territories senator who grew up here.
It is a way of protecting not just our community, but our way of life, our culture, our lifestyle.
But the fight against climate change isn't over. Coastal erosion continues to impact other parts of the community. But for now, the people who call this place home are safe. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories.
Canada's Summer McIntosh has won her first gold medal at the World Aquatics Championship in Singapore, and she has a shot at 4 more over the next 7 days. Earning all 5 would put her in some legendary company. Quibino Duro shows us how the teen sensation is inspiring other young Canadians.
No doubt about our winner here. It is the great Summer McIntosh.
Another gold medal for Canadian swimming phenom Summer McIntosh, but her first here at the World Championships in Singapore.
My goal in the 400 freestyle was just to get my hand on the wall first.
McIntosh is trying to add her name into the record books once again. She's aiming to win 5 gold medals in individual events at the Worlds. The only swimmer to ever do that is superstar Michael Phelps, swimming for the US in 2005. With her first gold, she's now 1 step closer.
Really, honestly, I'm just trying to take it 1 race at a time and day by day.
While McIntosh is making waves in Singapore, swimmers at this competition in Montreal are feeling inspired by her gold medal win and what could still lie ahead.
Summer McIntosh is an all-around amazing swimmer, and people say that her her worst stroke is breaststroke, but she's still amazing at all 4 strokes, and she's at an international level in everything. So I'm really trying to strive to be like that and to try to be strong in everything, in every stroke.
She proved that you can improve and show good result even if you are younger than the other swimmer in the competition.
McIntosh recently trained with a team from Pacific Coast Swimming. Avery Neal got a chance to swim alongside her and calls that an experience of a lifetime.
This sounds so weird, but she's like an actual person. Like, she has so many like feelings and just everything like that. And to be able to swim with her was so cool. And the way that she does her practices, like seeing her technique, seeing her approach the practice was just so, it was insane.
The 800-meter freestyle, set for next Saturday, is being called the most anticipated race at the Worlds. McIntosh will once again compete with her U.S. rival, Katy Ledecky, who took bronze on Sunday. Cubino Duro, CBC News, Montreal.
Canada's rising tennis star Leylah Fernandez just won the biggest title of her career at the Citi Open in Washington.
Fantastic Fernandez.
The 22-year-old defeated her Russian opponent in straight sets. It's her 4th title on the women's tour, but her first in 2 years. And she won't have long to celebrate. She'll be back on the court on Monday for the first round of the National Bank Open in Montreal. BC winemakers say they're losing business in Alberta because the province now takes a bigger cut of every bottle sold there. Alberta raised the markup for all wines in March, saying it levels the playing field for those selling beer and spirits. As Kyle Back shows us, that's no comfort for wineries one province over.
One by one, a batch of sparkling rosé is bottled by hand at the Lightning Rock Winery. If these bottles end up being sold in Alberta, their price tag will be noticeably higher. That's because of new fees introduced by the Alberta government this year.
On a $30 bottle of wine, it works out to approximately between 28 and 32%.
The fees come at a time when governments are looking to reduce trade barriers between provinces. Alberta often boasts about leading the way on improving trade.
This new way of working together across provincial borders will benefit the people of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario, and ultimately all people across Canada.
They're saying one thing nationally, but then they're penalizing us on the other side.
It's been 3 months since Alberta's fees were added, and now wineries are really starting to feel the pinch.
Our online sales dropped almost 30-40%. Kind of slap on the face, to be honest with you, for a lot of BC wineries.
Here's how it works. Beginning in April, Alberta increased its flat fee on wine, plus added an extra charge that goes up, depending on the price of the bottle, up to 15%.
Beautiful bottle of BC rosé.
A year ago, the premiers of both provinces announced a new program for BC wineries to ship directly to drinkers in Alberta. Wineries were delighted, but the new fees have washed away the excitement.
It's frustrating, to be honest with you. We had a deal in place, and then it really feels to us like Alberta has just screwed this up.
The Minister for Service Alberta says Alberta believes in free and open trade, and it's open to finding opportunities to improve it. The agreement with BC is reducing red tape, making it easier for Albertans to buy BC wine, but still ensuring wineries pay the fees Alberta collects on liquor sales. Some wineries are calling for Alberta's premier to take action and eliminate the fees.
She's championing free trade. At the same time, she's championing a tax that we never had before.
Some wineries say Alberta's fees are so high that it's now cheaper for them to sell into the U.S. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Penticton.
Increasingly toxic street drugs are triggering a new wave of overdose deaths.
It's crazy how many people just are dying.
Why synthetic opioids are fueling a new addiction crisis. Next. Plus, condo sales are collapsing.
So this is one of my listings.
Sellers are slashing prices as new listings pile up. Nisha Patel investigates what's behind the drop. And the 90s parenting trend that's making a comeback.
I love the idea.
Why some parents are letting their kids go wild this summer. We're back in 2. At least 3 people are dead and more than 50 injured after a train derailed in southern Germany. About 100 people were on board when 2 cars went off the tracks. Investigators are still trying to figure out what went wrong. They say that could take days, but heavy rain may have been a factor. A new warning tonight from the front lines of Canada's opioid epidemic. Officials say street drugs are constantly evolving. And as Paige Parsons shows us, it's making it harder to treat overdoses and try to save lives.
Luckily, I've never overdosed.
Sober after battling a 5-year opioid addiction, Danielle Lake says she got lucky.
I've seen a lot of people pass away from this stuff, and it's like they say, a pandemic, and it's crazy how many people just are dying.
Once homeless, she's been able to get off the streets and get housing. Lake gets daily treatment at an addictions clinic in downtown Edmonton. Operators say the unpredictable cocktail that people using street drugs are getting is increasingly dangerous.
The illicit drug on the street has become very volatile.
People think they've taken something like fentanyl, but lab results turn up a mix of uppers and downers or new chemicals that don't respond to overdose reversal.
Even nasal naloxone, which is a lot stronger than just the injectable naloxone, that people are having to use multiple doses of that to reverse some of the drug poisonings recently.
The synthetic mixes make treating addiction more complicated.
So I don't know whether we're always able to keep abreast of what's changing, what people are using, and how we can treat those particular addictions.
Trying to stay on top of the evolving drug supply, the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Teams hired a forensic pharmacologist to track the supply and warn frontline groups about what's changing.
In the past, where we would see just a single analyte or a single substance in a drug sample, now there can be up to 10 or 12.
Even as Edmonton set an all-time monthly peak for opioid-related deaths when 87 people died in March, frontline workers say there's not much they can do other than issue warnings. Danielle Lake is looking to her future.
I can't even imagine going back to that. It scares me, actually.
With using just getting more dangerous, she hopes more people find the strength to stop. Paige Parsons, CBC News, Edmonton.
Sportscaster Scott Oake opens up about his son's fight with addiction.
Hello and welcome to Hockey Night in Canada Presents.
Coming up, his message for other families in pain.
He was on that cycle of active addiction, recovery, relapse.
And his push for change. Plus, is Canada's big city condo market in trouble?
I'm never buying an investment condo again.
Nisha Patel uncovers what's driving down sales. And
what did you say? I said Medicine Hat, Alberta.
A Katy Perry fan puts Alberta's Medicine Hat on the map. The National takes you deeper into the stories shaping our world. Next. Well, this was a big Saturday night surprise for Beyoncé fans at her concert finale in Vegas. Destiny's Child reuniting for their first performance in 7 years. Kelly Rowland and Michelle Williams have visited Beyoncé on stage on a few occasions since the trio went their separate ways in 2006. The latest parenting trend is letting kids go a little wild this summer. They're getting freedom and fun without a schedule. But as Deanna Sumanak-Johnson explains, so-called feral summers may not work for everyone.
This mother of 3 and parenting columnist is making a choice this summer. She won't be shuttling her kids from one camp to another.
I really just wanted to give my kids the luxury of freedom and boredom, and I wanted to give that luxury to myself as well.
It's a trend known as wild summer or feral summer.
Don't push.
I love the idea of feral child summer.
It's letting loose.
Parents' nostalgia for their own simpler freewheeling summers, but it's also financial. Inflation has hit the cost of camps for a 3-child family like Niazi's.
It would have cost me more, much more than I would have earned had I, taken on a full-time freelance schedule.
She says she knows their family is lucky with her working as a freelancer. Wild summer may not work for everyone. For families of kids with ADHD or on the autism spectrum, unstructured days might pose more of a challenge.
If you were to go very abruptly from a whole lot of structure to no structure, that might actually be very anxiety provoking and overwhelming for them.
Ready to go. And this financial expert says that for many families, expensive though they may be, camps are necessary for childcare.
Time, flexible work schedules, a safe place to play, this community support, those things are not free and they're not equally accessible to everyone.
The Canadian Camping Association said overall, provincial member organizations report steady enrollment. However, their member organization in Saskatchewan notes since COVID, many camps in Saskatchewan are seeing lower enrollment. And in Ontario, some families are registering for shorter sessions, as families try to strike a balance between demanding jobs, enriching activities, and the all-too-brief magic of childhood summers. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Now let's break down the news shaping our world. The downturn in Canada's condo market as sales slump, inventory swells.
We haven't seen that much inventory in 20 years.
We'll show you what's driving the drop in demand. But first...
Hello and welcome to Hockey Night in Canada Presents.
Veteran Canadian sportscaster Scott Oake opens up about grief and the loss of his son.
Addiction is a disease.
Earlier this year, I sat down with Scott to speak about his new memoir. We talked about his son's death and how that led to helping others battling addiction.
He was diagnosed at the age of 8 or 9 with ADHD. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which made him ripe for taking chances, and there weren't many he didn't take. Consequences be damned, and clearly believed that that had something to do with his descent into substance abuse disorder, or addiction, as we call it.
This is a book about your son. It's a book about you and your wife and your other son, Darcy. I want to ask you about yourself for a moment, because literally on the last page of this book, you write that grief can get the better of a person. Certainly if you lose your son and your wife, and she passed away just a few years ago. My grief hasn't, although I have my moments. So I can't say I've risen above my grief, only that I carry on. How do you carry on?
I carry on because I have Darcy and his wife Leslie, and they have 2 beautiful children, my grandchildren, August and Harlan. Some days are easier than others, I would say that. Again, I'll quote Darcy. He nailed it, I thought, when he said, grief is like a 10-pound brick in your pocket. Some days it's heavier than others. But you do your best.
And you're still feeling it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just that question, right, has triggered some emotion in me. I never know when it's going to get me. It could be if I hear a song on the radio, when I pick up that book, and I have a number of times, and I'll flip to a certain page, and I got to put it down. Imagine that. I can't read my own book. But it's just the way it is, and you figure out how to manage it, and I guess I have, yeah.
I think we don't talk enough about grief in our society, you know, especially maybe men, you know, that they need to be stoic. What kind of reaction do you get to being open about grief?
Well, this is probably the first time that I've actually exposed myself to how I feel, you know, in the book. But when Bruce first passed away, I would say thank you and try to change the subject. I suppose any professionals looking at this would think that I am the worst case example of someone trying to deal with grief, because, you know, it's the old stiff upper lip. You just carry on. I took 1 weekend off and went right back to work, as I just felt that was the best way to do it. Just carry on. And sure, there'll be people watching this saying, well, you know, you should have, you know, let time pass and you should have dealt with your grief. But that's how I dealt with it, and I guess continue to deal with it.
This book is hard to read. What was it like to write it?
Very difficult. I've been asked if it was cathartic, and I would say it's probably the furthest thing from that. Reliving Bruce's journey, in particular the last 4 years of his life through the written word, was very difficult. One of the jokes I made during the writing of the book was, will I be the first author to get PTSD from his own book? It's a joke, of course. I mean, there was a purpose in writing the book, but it wasn't easy.
What was the purpose?
I began to think that it would be not a bad idea because it would let other families who are going through crises like we did to know they're not alone, and that it would help bring attention to the opioid crisis and what we need to do about it. Okay, so this is the Addams family portrait, some photo studio where they had a special. Just looking like an ordinary, normal family. And the day he was born.
What should we know about Bruce Oake?
Bruce was a precocious kid. He was the perfect baby. I remember when he was 3 or 3.5, we were in front of the house playing street hockey, and I was telling him, like any father would, this is how you hold the stick, this is how you shoot, this is how you stick handle, and pretty soon he'd had it with me. At that point, he'd realized that he could watch me on TV on a nightly basis doing the local sports, talking about all manner of sports.
The fans have packed Dodger Stadium all week long. The NHL will be a 21-team league next season. Hello and welcome to Hockey Night in Canada Presents. I'm Scott Oake.
But he incorrectly assumed that I should be an expert at all of them. And so he stopped cold during this day playing street hockey. He looked up to me and he said, you know, Dad, if you know so much about it, you should be playing it, not just talking about it. So he was that kind of kid.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey, Dad, turn around.
Are you kidding?
He was diagnosed at the age of 8 or 9 with ADHD.
There's Bruce.
Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which made him ripe for taking chances, and there weren't many he didn't take. Consequences be damned. And clearly believed that that had something to do with his descent into substance abuse disorder, or addiction, as we call it.
Yeah, he's obviously much more than someone who is addicted to drugs, but that addiction was something that consumed him and for a long time consumed your family.
Yeah, it did. It was a horrid journey for the last 4 or 5 years of his life. He was on that cycle of active addiction, recovery, relapse. He went to detox, I think 9 or 10 times. He went to treatment centers 4 times. He tried his best, but he never really came to terms with the fact that he had to do it for himself. He always went more for us than for himself. And as a result, addiction or substance abuse claimed his life. People would believe that using drugs is a choice that you make, but addiction is a disease. When we wrote Bruce's obituary, our first decision was to not hide behind what had claimed his life because we didn't think that there was any shame in that. The first line of Bruce's obituary reads, "Tragically, Bruce Oake lost his battle with addiction at the tender age of 25. And that got a lot of reaction, and in a way was the genesis of the grandiose project that became the Bruce Oake Recovery Center.
This is the moment that we as the Oake family have been super excited to share with all of you, the Bruce Oake Recovery Center.
People need to realize that addiction is a disease. Imagine standing over somebody with cancer and saying, what are you doing with that cancer? Just get rid of it. Just stop having it. You know, I just hope that people will come to realize that it is a disease and we need to approach it accordingly.
The problem with treatment is it needs to be available when the person is ready for it, on their terms. And it's pretty clear in this book that that has not been the case in this country.
There aren't nearly enough recovery beds in this country. And until there are enough beds available to service people who want recovery and want it at that particular time, then this problem will persist. But you do what you can. And so that's the nature of the Bruce Oake Recovery Center. There's 50 beds there. And at any given time, there are 50 men there reclaiming their lives, to allow them to go back to their families, their loved ones, their jobs, and society in general, and I guess continue to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. You go to the Bruce Oake Recovery Center every day when you're in Winnipeg?
Yes. I usually try to get there for lunch from Monday to Thursday and meet as many of the participants as I can. You know, I'm fascinated by their stories, but I'm inspired by the place more than anything. You can feel that it's a place of love and that men are there to get their health back.
There's so much in this book. If I were to ask you to isolate one message you hope this book sends to people in Canada, what would it be?
That recovery is possible. It wasn't for Bruce. He tried. You know, there's an expression in addiction and substance abuse disorder that you got to hit rock bottom. Sadly, for some people, rock bottom is death, and it was for Bruce. But this book, I hope, makes the point that a life free of drugs and alcohol can be attained. if you work on yourself, if you do the right things, and if you make the proper decisions. And as I always say to the guys at graduation ceremonies at Bruce Oak, use the tools you've acquired here over your 16 weeks, and you can have a good life.
An amazing family and a moving story. Earlier this month, Scott was awarded the Order of Canada. He said the recognition was for everyone in the recovery community. After years of rising prices, Canada's condo market is struggling.
We've got 7 months of inventory.
Coming up, why disappearing demand is forcing many sellers to scramble. In Canada's biggest cities, condos are sitting empty and going unsold.
We're pretty much at a recession in the condo market.
Where did all the buyers go in the middle of a housing crisis? This spring, Nisha Patel looked at what's driving the downturn in Canada's condo market and how much worse it could get.
In Canada's housing market, condos are the weakest link. The steepest drop in sales and prices have been in Toronto. The trends in Vancouver are troubling too. Here's why.
So this is one of my listings. We've had this one on the market for just under 3 months.
Toronto real estate agent Sean Miller says new listings are piling up on the condo market. Units that once would have sold in days can now take weeks.
We've got 7 months of inventory, which is insane. And we just don't have the buyers to absorb it. We haven't seen that much inventory in 20 years.
With so many properties to choose from, buyers are looking for deals, and sellers can no longer demand the hefty prices of a few years ago.
If you're a seller and you don't have something that's amazing, it's tricky, and you've got to be realistic.
A record wave of newly built condos is also adding to supply. Nearly 30,000 units were completed last year in the Greater Toronto Area alone, and there are more coming online in 2025.
What we're seeing now with all of this supply coming to completion is actually a reflection of demand conditions that existed 2 or 3 years ago. And that doesn't exist anymore.
Bank of Montreal senior economist Robert Kavchuk says the downturn is concentrated in the largest cities. Condo sales in April tumbled 30% in the Toronto region from a year ago and 20% in Vancouver.
We haven't seen sales volumes running this low again since probably the 1990s. We're pretty much at a recession in the condo market.
The condo market is being described as a buyer's market. The problem is there are few buyers to be found. From investors to homeowners, demand is disappearing. For years, investors have been some of the biggest buyers of pre-construction condos, knowing there was a steady stream of renters in the pipeline. Not anymore.
Federal policymakers have put a cap on immigration. Population growth is falling off very quickly. You have a historically high number of purpose-built rental units.
Now rents are coming down in many cities. The average rent of a one-bedroom condo in Toronto fell almost 6% in April from a year ago, and Vancouver fell more than 4%. Add on a much higher interest rate environment, and the cost of carrying the property as a rental is less appealing.
The investors are basically gone from the market right now because rather than expectations of price increases, they have to look at things like cash flow. And at these prices, it just doesn't make sense at 4% borrowing costs.
Thousands of buyers are also scrambling, facing steep losses, as their pre-sale condos purchased a few years ago are worth less than their original value.
There's projects in downtown Vancouver, pre-sold for $2,500 plus a square foot, and appraisals are coming in at $1,900. There's gonna be like a cohort of investors that are gonna be scarred for a long time. They're gonna say, you know what, I'm never buying an investment condo again.
Vancouver realtor Steve Suretsky says that's essentially freezing the pre-construction market. Developers need to sell most of their units before they can put shovels in the ground.
There's no market for them, and they're having to make difficult decisions of either converting and pivoting to rental or just completely shelving the project completely.
This one is listed as $800,000.
Homebuyers, people looking for condos to actually live in, could fill that gap in demand, but many are still unimpressed with the prices and sizes available. At an average of 650 square feet, Toronto condos have been described as shoeboxes.
And what we demographically need is larger units with 2 or 3 bedrooms, and in a lot of cases, backyards.
And there's been one other wild card that's put a chill on housing.
Reciprocal tariffs. 25% tariff. Tariffs. It's a beautiful word.
Amid the trade war with the U.S., unemployment in Canada is on the rise, and consumer confidence is shaky, forcing many buyers to put major purchases on hold.
A small interest rate reduction in June could make things improve a little bit for a period of time, but then, something else could change that sentiment. We're just in this time of uncertainty right now where we just got to ride it out.
That combination of soaring supply and declining demand is putting pressure on prices. Experts say the market has shifted significantly over the past few months, and the downturn is far from over. The average price of a condo in the Greater Toronto Area came in at about $678,000 in April. That's down 16% from the market peak 3 years ago, and $130,000 cheaper. In Vancouver, a typical condo is now priced at more than $762,000. That's 9% lower than in 2022.
Affordability has improved modestly, but it's still very unaffordable to the vast majority of people living here.
Economists forecast in some markets, condo prices will fall another 10% this year. That would erase most of the gains seen during the pandemic. A stark reminder that rising prices in real estate aren't always guaranteed.
Since Nisha's story first aired, the Toronto condo market remains in that lull. An industry market survey found that between April and June, only 502 new units were sold in the GTA. That is the fewest in 30 years. Next, Katy Perry gets a surprise lesson in Canadian geography.
What did you say? I said Medicine Hat, Alberta.
The moment she's delighted by an Alberta fan. It's our moment. You're looking at Braden Palumbo, seen here in a moment of awe as he took an onstage selfie with Katy Perry during her concert in Vancouver. Braden traveled all the way from Alberta to see his music idol perform, and tonight, his onstage conversation with Katy Perry makes our moment.
Where are you from? Medicine Hat, Alberta.
It was definitely safe to say that I lived my teenage dream for sure. I am such a big Katy Perry fan, like honestly, for as long as I can remember. So when I was at the Katy Perry concert in Vancouver, she started calling people up that were a little bit closer to her, just screamed at the top of my lungs, and she noticed me, which is what I had wanted. And one thing led to another, and she picked me. I was in shock. I was so in shock. I was like, oh my God, she's standing right in front of me. We're having a conversation. You know what I mean? And then she asked me where I was from. I do live in a small town right outside of Medicine Hat. It's called Redcliffe. And I think that's kind of sort of where the hype came from, because obviously she wasn't aware where Medicine Hat was.
Medicine Hat? Right. Medicine Hat? Right.
I had mentioned the Co-op gas bar, but at the end of the day, she didn't know where that was or what it was, so.
I work at the Co-op gas bar.
When I did take my phone out and started taking selfies with her, all I could think about was, please don't judge my phone because it is so cracked right now. But at the end of the day, though, I got my selfie, and that's all that matters. It meant so much to me, and I'm definitely going to be riding this high for a while.
She doesn't know where the Co-op gas bar was. She doesn't even know what a Co-op gas bar is, but what a cool moment. The only time I ever met one of my idols, I was in grade 8, and it's the only time I think I was ever speechless. So good for him. And of course, teaching her that there's a place called Medicine Hat. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ian Hannamansing in Vancouver. Hope you can join me on CBC News Network weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern. Good night.